Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. It's been a hectic week and a not too easy evening as we've gotten things trying to get started. Had a couple of technical problems this afternoon that didn't get resolved until after church, and well, here we are. It's October 11th in the 2020, and I hope that you are ready for tonight's Bible Forum. I've got a lot of things that I want to share with you, I think, that are very, very important. Are you signed up to get the weekly rundown of topics? I did it right this time. I actually sent the list of topics along with the email. Last week, I didn't do that. That's once a week, every Saturday, Friday sometimes. Throw this at you, let you know what's going to happen. I change things around a little bit, add a few. Once I think I cut one out. But generally, that's what we're going to be doing. No other emails am I going to send to you unless they're really, really important as far as the timing of the show and the things that are going on. But there's been a lot happening in our world this week. And I want you to think about this. If you remember back in Genesis chapter 12, you have a promise from God to Abram, as it was called then. And verse 3 reads, "Curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed." God is promising that there will be a blessing on Abraham, and if anybody curses Abraham, God will curse them. Here's a biblical command enjoined upon all who worship the God of Abraham. They must bless the descendants of Abraham. These are the people of Israel. God is not saying he's going to bend his knee. Rather, I will serve those who bend their knee in serving you, talking about Israel. In this promise, God also issues a curse. A curse is just the opposite of a blessing. God tells Abraham that everyone who curses him will be cursed by God in return. It extends to the people of Abraham. The strength of the promise, however, is somewhat lost in translation because the first word for curse comes from a root that literally means to make light of someone or something that may be heavy. But the second time the word curse is used, it's a different Hebrew word. And here God talks about something that is actually the opposite of anything you can think of, not opposite, but worse than anything you can think of. In this curse, he's telling these folks that he will utterly destroy those who curse Abraham. Taking all that into consideration, the translation can flow like this: I will serve those who will serve you, and the ones who make light of you, I will utterly destroy. That's a powerful statement. A statement against any who would treat Israel badly. But think about it. What nation has blessed Israel the most since Israel has returned from her captivity? Yeah, the United States. And what U.S. president has blessed Israel more than any other president we've ever had? The president who moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem while all the others just talked about doing it. The one who appointed Nikki Haley as our UN ambassador, who in her opening statement to the U.S. Senate said, quote, "Nowhere has the UN's failure been more consistent and more outrageous than in its bias against our close ally, Israel." Her actions, the votes, she supported Israel every time an Israeli issue came up. Trump supported the implementation of something called the Taylor Force Act. It was named after an American Army veteran who was brutally killed as he strolled along the boardwalk in Haifa. Legislation designed to end financial assistance to the Palestinian Authority until compensation to terrorists and their families for the acts of terror is halted. He did that March 23rd, 2018. Trump also reinstated sanctions against Iran, the leading supplier of arms and funds to terrorists globally. He authorized the National Defense Authorization Act. It provides $550 million in support of Israel. He provisionally stopped the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, at the same time supplying that same jet to Israel. He recognized the Golan Heights as being part of Israel, recognizing Israel's sovereignty over that area. Syria had claimed it in the past, but had used it because a high hill looking down over Israel, over Jerusalem, Syria had used it to bombard Israel. No other U.S. president has done so much in so short a period of time for Israel. No other U.S. president has been hated as much as this one. His critics tell you that it's his style, that it's his arrogance, but it's his policies they don't like. Why? Because those policies strengthened the U.S. economy. Those policies gave meaning to the words liberty and justice for all. Those policies stabilized both Israel and the Middle East. We got Arab nations who are now asking to be let in, moving out of the Muslim world over into the Western world. This and so much more is why the left, those whose values are based on whatever seems to benefit them the most, want him gone. The man seems to truly love the United States and the state of Israel. You want to know more? You need to buy David Horowitz's recent book, the newest book he's put out. It's called Blitz. Horowitz rejected progressive ideas and became a defender of neoconservatism. He served the left from 1956 to 1975, and then he saw what was going on. He's written a lot of books, including a series on his ideological journey, but this one, Blitz, Trump will smash the left and win. Got a lot of facts. It's worth having. I learned this week that the Jewish date palm is back. And I said what you probably just said. So the Judean date palm symbolized ancient Judah. It's mentioned in the Bible. However, when the nation it symbolized was conquered, sent into exile in 70 A.D., cultivation of dates in the region just began to decline. Arabs aren't real big on this stuff. This particular species of palm was thought to be extinct for the last 800 years. But between 1963 and 1991, hundreds of seeds were collected from Judean desert archaeological sites, such as an ancient palace fortress built by King Herod, and caves located in the southern Israel at Masada and Qumran and other places, located in the Judean desert between the Judean hills and the Dead Sea. Sarah Salon is director of the Louis K. Baaack Natural Medicine Research Center of Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem. She led a team that selected 34 seeds that they thought were the most viable. One was separated out, set aside as a control. The remaining 33 were carefully soaked in water and fertilizer to encourage germination. The seeds were then planted in a quarantine site at the Araba Institute for Environmental Studies in Kibbutz Keturah in southern Israel. And of these, 6 of the seeds successfully sprouted. They were given the names Jonah, Uriel, Boaz, Judith, Hannah, and Adam. Ever hear, or maybe you have sung, the hymn, Nearer, My God, to Thee? The lyrics go, Nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer to Thee, e'en though it be a cross that raiseth me, still all my song shall be, Nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer, my God, to Thee. James Stephen is credited with the original arrangement and Latin lyrics for the song. And as you listen to the words, you're reminded that no matter what trouble you face, God is always by your side. Well, a group, a secular group, I think, I don't know, it could be a religious type group, they call themselves a Vocal Point. It's a men's choir known for their a cappella covers of beloved hymns and secular favorites such as Be Thou My Vision. Well, recently they gathered over 800 musicians from 55 different countries to, as they say, perform the classic hymn, Nearer, My God, to Thee. They appear to have done this separately, online. What you see are the videos of 800 artists, all in a little box, squares all over the screen. What they actually do is treat us to 1 minute and 20 seconds of this marvelous hymn, and it is really done well. But then they break into a contemporary rendition featuring an up-beat tempo, staccato rhythms, all of which is sung in a contemporary form, building to a crescendo, only to retreat to the actual tempo before it ends. The first minute and 20 seconds are great. The last 10 seconds are good. But in between, the music takes on a contemporary sound, and the beauty of that hymn is completely lost. You keep watching, you keep listening, hoping that it'll come back, but it doesn't. Speaking at an NBC News town hall, Joe Biden was asked about his plans to protect women's reproductive rights in the United States in light of the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court. Biden answered, well, we don't know exactly what she will do, although the expectation is she may very well move to overrule Roe v. Wade. He said the only responsible response to that would be to pass legislation making Roe the law of the land, sort of a, do it ahead of time so that she can't get their hands on it. He says that's what I would do. A tweet from his campaign read, Roe v. Wade must remain the law of the land. A group of prominent evangelical leaders asked former Vice President Biden about his position on the pro-life evangelicals for Biden. The statement begins with a cursory repudiation of Biden's position. As it says, as pro-life evangelicals, we disagree with Vice President Biden and the Democrat platform on the issue of abortion. We believe a biblically shaped commitment to the sanctity of life compels us to a consistent ethic of life that affirms the sanctity of human life from beginning to end. However, we believe that on balance, Joe Biden's policies are more consistent with the biblically shaped ethic of life than those of Donald Trump. Therefore, even as we continue to urge different policies on abortion, we urge evangelicals to elect Joe Biden as president. One would wish these folks would actually check their Bibles before declaring liberal left ideals to be anywhere close to in line with Holy Scripture on any topic. Politics in America has devolved into a left and a right. The right is closer to what the Bible says is right and good than the left. The right is not perfect. It's got some serious problems. The left is so far off the beam and out of anything that's mainstream American ideals as to be open to all sorts of other identifying terms other than Democrat. And I think they know it. Talking about liberals, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he will close churches and synagogues in New York City if they do not agree to follow the rules concerning social distancing and masks. He says, quote, "If you do not agree to follow the rules, then we will close the institutions down. I am prepared to do that." In a Twitter post, Satmar Headquarters, a Hasidic Jewish community in Brooklyn, corrected Cuomo, saying one of the pictures used in the press conference was more than 10 years old. Apparently, it showed a packed house or something like it for their synagogue. Cuomo said that he would keep churches open under two conditions. One, the community must agree. Jewish community, black community, Roman Catholic communities must agree that the religious community will obey the rules and be a full partner in the enforcement of those rules. The second condition is that the churches have strict enforcement of social distancing rules and restrictions. If the rule is no more than 50% of the people in a black church, I want somebody at the door when 50% enter the church who turns to the pastor and says, "That's your 50%. He concluded by saying, "That's it, or we close it down." In March, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio also warned that churches and religious places could face shutdown if they did not follow lockdown orders. Can you say unconstitutional? The argument is it's a health issue. Government has a say in health issues. And all of this for a mortality rate just over 2% nationwide. New York has a higher rate than that. Theirs is up around 4 or 5. They're number 2 in the nation as having the most people with this disease. For a mortality rate in New York of over 33,000 in August 2020, between February 1st and September 19th of this year, over 400,000 Americans died of heart disease. As of October 8, 2020, 211,132 Americans died from coronavirus, about half. The same is true for cancer, at just under 400,000. In the same time period, less than half died with coronavirus, and we're outlawing breathing on people. But we're not outlawing tobacco, nor alcoholic beverages, not automobiles. We killed over 200,000 people every year since 1968. In 2018, we killed over 327,000 people with cars. And not recreational drugs. Over 67,000 people died in 2018 from drug overdoses. Kind of makes you wonder about your priorities, doesn't it? A satanic temple is suing an advertising company after the business refused to display billboards suggesting abortion is a ritual, a religious ritual. According to CBN News, the Satanic Temple is suing Lamar Advertising in Arkansas State Court, accusing the company of religious discrimination. The group says the business will not display 8 billboards in Arkansas and Indiana. The billboards describe a ritual as a sacramental act that confirms the right of bodily autonomy. Then explains that if a woman completes the ritual, she may claim a religious exemption from mandatory waiting periods, checkups, and counseling that some states require before she can have an abortion. The billboards were to be displayed near pro-life pregnancy centers. In one billboard design, a bowl of cake batter is shown with the text, "Not a cake." The second image on the billboard is that of a sperm and an egg with the text, "Not a baby." The proposed billboard declares our religious abortion ritual averts many state restrictions. In another proposed billboard, a woman holds a tiny Adolf Hitler with the text, "What if abortion had been an option?" Again, the design referred to abortion as a ritual. Lamar Advertising rejected all these designs, saying they were misleading and offensive. But the Satanic Temple has argued that a satanic ritual is a religious rite that may be exempt from state laws and regulations. In a press release, the temple bases its assertion of abortion mandate exemptions on the protections provided by state religious freedom restoration acts, which generally prohibits the government from substantially interfering with a person's free exercise of religion. Satanic Temple co-founder Lucianne Greaves said, "While it is understandable to be concerned with forcing a private entity to engage in speech or conduct it objects to, this scenario is different." In the final shot, Lamar initially agreed to work with us, and their rejection appears to be religiously based.